It wasn't so long ago that drafting a tight end in fantasy football was the last thing on your mind heading into the draft. Now there's a couple of big names at tight end threatening to be picked in the first round in some leagues. Here's a PFW staff breaking down the top 3 tight ends in fantasy football in the 2012 season.
Lost in the Gronkowski Graham scuttlebutt among tight ends is a pretty good tight end in his prime who's coming off a huge postseason. Coming in at number 3 on PFW's fantasy tight end rankings is Vernon Davis, who actually had stats to put him in the second tier of tight ends last year. He was only 8th in receptions and 7th in TDs. But the Niners know they have to throw more and more effectively. Davis is one of the best athletes you'll find at the position, and his 2 huge playoff games clearly showed he can accomplish that. Keep an eye on Davis in 2012.
Jimmy Graham was a driving force behind 2011 being coined the year of the tight end. His 99 catches led all tight ends, and his 11 touchdowns and just over 1,300 receiving yards were second to only Rob Gronkowski. Here's a scary thought for you. He's still getting better and still developing a rapport with Drew Brees. He's in a pass-first offense, as we all know, and he's a favorite of Brees's in the red zone with 26 red zone targets, which tied for the most in the league last season. The Saints also lost a deep threat in Robert Meacham, and there may be even more opportunities, believe it or not, for Graham moving forward. I wouldn't personally hesitate to pull the trigger on Graham as early as rounds 2 or 3. Along with Rob Gronkowski, Graham has helped revolutionize the tight end position in the NFL. Considered by most a top-round talent, PFW's number 2 fantasy tight end is now making fantasy players go back to the drawing board when valuing the tight end position on draft day.
You know that tight ends are starting to take over the NFL when you could see one go in the first round in fantasy drafts, and that would be Patriots tight end Rob Gronkowski, our number 1 ranked fantasy football tight end. He was 15th overall in fantasy points last season, which was only second to Calvin Johnson among pass catchers. Gronkowski had 17 touchdown catches and a record-breaking season for tight ends. Just look at what he did in the red zone. 18 catches for 183 yards, 12 of those catches went for touchdowns. He's unbelievable near the goal line for a great offense. If there is a negative for Gronkowski, he does have to compete for targets from Tom Brady. There are a lot of people for Brady to spread the ball around to, from Wes Welker to Aaron Hernandez, Brandon Lloyd as well. Gronkowski is coming off ankle surgery as well. But defenses could not stop Gronkowski last year. He may not put up those astronomical numbers we saw in 2011, but there's really no reason to see him slowing down. He should be the first tight end off the board in your fantasy draft.
Gronk and Graham both had record-setting seasons in 2011 at the tight end position, so they're the obvious choices for 1 and 2 here. The only question now is, how high do you draft them? We've got fantasy rankings for every position in fantasy football over at ProFootballWeekly.com. Just head to our site and click on the Fantasy tab.